Today I'm going to talk about my favorite game mechanism in Russian railroads. This is an engine building game that I've played a couple times over the years, but recently I got the German Railroads expansion, and it really rekindled my love for this game and reminded me of how much I love this game, mostly because I love engine building, and this game is all about engine building. And it has worker placement, which I also love. It has a lot of little clever mechanisms throughout the game. The one that I really want to focus on is the tracks. Every player has a player board with 4 different tracks on it, and each track does fairly different things. I won't go into what all those things are, and in the German Railroads expansion, those things become even more varied because there's tiles that you can place on the board that change up each individual board. Um, but the core mechanism here is that you are advancing track tokens along your tracks, and by doing so, you're either getting one-time bonuses along the way, like as your track token moves on a certain spot, or you are getting ongoing points depending on the type of track token you're using. You can get better and better track tokens, and they score more and more points along the way. But the really interesting push and pull here, other than the fun of choosing different tracks and advancing some and not others, which I love in any game that has different tracks or tech trees, the really interesting push and pull element here is that you can't just choose, say, one track and only care about advancing the token. Occasionally you can do this, but on most tracks, there's a push and pull element here, which is that you also need a locomotive on that track that activates various things. So you might move your track token, say you move it forward 4 spaces, but on that 4th space, it might say, okay, you get this bonus right now, but you only get it if you have a level 4 or higher locomotive. So even if you spend all your time on just moving those track tokens forward and you forget about the locomotives, you're kind of missing out there. You have to balance the two, which leads to other interesting choices on the worker placement board of when you grab those different track advancement spaces or the locomotive or buy more locomotives. Similarly, when you score in Russian railroads, you look at those track tokens and how far along they are, but you're only going to score them if your locomotive number corresponds with how far along the track that token is. So if you have one of the track tokens that scores, and you have it 6 spaces up on your board, you've really done a great job at advancing it, but your locomotive is only a level 3 locomotive, you're only going to score the 3 spots, 3 of the spots, the ones that correspond with the level of the locomotive. When I originally played this game, I think I was a little frustrated by this push and pull because I just wanted to jet out on these tracks and get all the good stuff right away. But I've come to really appreciate the locomotive system. It gives you an extra layer of decision making and choices as to which track you're going to pursue, how far along you're going to advance your track token, and what locomotive you're going to choose to put on that track. And you can move the locomotives around when you acquire new ones, which is another interesting decision. So it takes a very simple track mechanism and adds an extra level of decision making that is actually very interesting instead of just adding unnecessary complication. I really like this about Russian railroads. Like I said, there are many other mechanisms in this game, little clever things here and there, big clever things throughout. If you have one that you want to talk about in the comments, I'd love to hear it. Or if you have an interesting push and pull mechanism in a game, where you kind of have to keep track of 2 different things to optimize your track, your tech tree, whatever it is in the game, I'd love to hear about that in the comments as well. Thanks.